And our last talk of the morning is extending global eduroam Wi-Fi into New Zealand secondary schools by Paul Gunn. Digital equity is an acute issue for New Zealand society, and in particular for school-aged children from lower-income families. REANNZ, Ministry of Education, and partners have joined forces to extend the global secure eduroam Wi-Fi service to secondary school students. This includes expanding its availability and coverage through partnering with schools, libraries, museums, and marae to reach communities with connectivity challenges, as well as making it available to the secondary school students through Federation of School Identity Systems with eduroam. Paul Gunn started work in a Crown Research Institute in the Forest Nutrition Laboratory at the New Zealand Forest Research Institute, now Scion, in Rotorua. He then took a lengthy diversion through the world of visual effects, where he learned about big data and small hobbits. Is that redundant? He joined REANNZ in 2014 as a systems administrator in the systems team, where he supports eduroam in New Zealand and coordinates with the global R&E community. Please welcome Paul Gunn.
Hello. Right, I'm going to have a quick run through who we are, because we're quite small, what the challenges we were trying to solve are, and some of the work we've done in trying to tackle issues in digital inequity. First, we're not the real estate institute. We are not the recording industry. We're the other REANNZ, Research and Education Advanced Network New Zealand. Schedule 4A entered under the Public Finance Act 1989. I'm sure we all know what that means. We're New Zealand's research and education network. We have membership. We're part of a global community. We have physical and community links to around the world, where we share tools and experience across the global NREAN community. But let's look at why I'm here. 8.8% of people experience persistent disadvantage being left out, or they experience specific disadvantage of being income poor or doing without. These are from the New Zealand Productivity Commission report from last year. Lack of connectivity contributes to the digital divide across education today. So these are Ministry of Education statistics. They say 115,000 students living in 55,000 households without internet or device. Or they have low speed connectivity, or they've got low data caps, or broadband just isn't that good in rural environments, or maybe the home isn't the best place to study. So we're trying to do some work to fix some of these issues here. Just one piece. And then there was a bit of a shock to the education system, where things that might have worked, we just came under a lot more stress there. So the Ministry of Education reached out to REANNZ to say, what are the tools that you have that we can use to help solve some of these problems here? They identified eduroam as being a tool to provide a consistent digital experience. Why did they pick on that one? That's one they knew. The Ministry of Education uses eduroam already. There's about 2,000 connections a month from Ministry of Education staff wandering around the country using eduroam. So they were like, this we know, this makes sense, this is something from your portfolio we can use. What's eduroam? Global, free, secure Wi-Fi for the research and education community. It came out of Europe. It's now present in about 100 countries around the world. So, question, where's the closest location you can use eduroam around here? I had a bit of think, and I'm not quite sure which way I'm facing, because this is a very confusing space here. But I think it's that way in the Ministry of Education office, and then the next closest beyond that one is Te Kura, which I think's that way, and then a wee bit further that way, Victoria University. There's 23 sites in Wellington, south of the Nauranga Gorge, where eduroam is available. That might be more than branches of the big banks. Just a guess. Why is eduroam the right thing for this? It's a frugal service. You just put it on top of an existing Wi-Fi service and it just works. So you don't have to add anything new. You don't have to add much new. It sits on top of an existing service. Why is it a good service for us to reach this communities? Because we can deploy it through schools, through a trusted partner. One of the problems in digital inequality is fear, concerns, those click-through screens that you hit. eduroam is you get it configured by a trusted partner, your school, and you just open your laptop or you pull out your phone and it just works. No click-through, no messages, no nothing, it just works. Pull it out of your pocket, it just works. But how do we know it just works? I'm going to tell you a story here from early 2020. During the first lockdown, lots of students went home. They went to homes where there weren't necessarily very good connectivity. Now, I got this story from my colleagues in Southern Institute of Technology, SIT in Invercargill. And what they found is in the evenings, all of the spaces around the library and the car parks were all full of students sitting alone in their own personal bubbles in their cars doing work because they couldn't get Wi-Fi at home. So every night, the cars would be full of students working away on the laptops, using the eduroam, radiating from the libraries and the buildings around it. That was how they solved their problems with connectivity. Drive to the library, sit outside the library in their own little bubble, working. We're working with the Ministry of Education to identify locations where you can provide that seamless connectivity. So we've got me and Dad, who I've worked with for probably 2.5 years now on this, identified locations. We want schools, we want home, and we want the other places, the third places where students can go, places where they can go and study. Tertiary institutes, eduroam available all around those ones there. We also have more aimed at the research and education spaces. There's also in our CRIs as well. Libraries, that's where we're going to come to. So, Ministry of Education is taking the lead and working with schools here. Its goal is to deploy eduroam to secondary school students, and this work is underway at the moment. So we're following a model that's actually been very successful overseas. All 42 districts, school districts in Utah have eduroam deployed. Utah, for those who haven't looked at a map recently, it's about the same size as New Zealand. It's about a similar number of people. It's about 3 mil versus similar population. It's a nice square country, so it's much easier to do roads around. But otherwise, it's about the same size as New Zealand. So all 42 districts rolled it out. Ireland made a conscious decision with the eduroam Everywhere program to push it out beyond where it started in the universities, to push it out to more places. So they've rolled it out in the same places I mentioned before. They've rolled it out. You've got it in your tertiary institutes. You've got it in your polytechnics. Okay, where else can we go? We've got it in health settings. It's in hospitals, teaching hospitals, but it's also in smaller health clinics. Utah does the same thing as well. It's also available in small libraries, county libraries. They've got about 500 locations that are not on a campus, traditional campus. They even have it in their buses. It's just everywhere. 500 sites. I'm really envious of them. But they've just made it as a goal, and they've really, really achieved on that one there. According to their stats, 66% of their disadvantaged administrative divisions have eduroam present or nearby to the location. So they've reached 60% of their target audience have eduroam here or a bit further down the street. So what we're going to do about it? We worked with APNK, part of DIA, National Library, to try and roll it out into the libraries around New Zealand. Why libraries? Students already go there. They're a warm, safe place to study. And, well, let's face it, they've already got a free Wi-Fi system, so we can roll it out on top of that using the same frugal infrastructure we've got. Just to prove to everyone how this was going to work and to see whether there were any issues, we did a proof of concept in Otago and Southland. We didn't have the students in the secondary sector on board, so we used tertiary students with their eduroam as a proxy. And we just knew there was a lot of students using this already because Otago, Polytechnic, South Institute of Technology have taken this and gone, we're going to have some of that. So we did a proof of concept in the South Island. Here we have a map of the South Island showing the areas we covered. So we've got rural areas, we've got deep in the city, we've even got Stewart Island there. Within about 20 minutes of it turning the service live, we had people connecting to it. So it's out there. There are people with credentials already from the New Zealand and overseas education community have their credentials. Some of the first students to connect in Stewart Island, students from the University of Nantes in France. Not necessarily the target audience I was reaching for that day, but still, it worked. Up in Te Anau, it was a Canadian academic, so you just use whatever you have for your testing environment and you work with that one. So we rolled this out in August last year. And then once everyone was happy, here we have New Zealand totally covered and obscured by dots showing the libraries have rolled it out to. There's 167 libraries up on there, I think. Anyone can prove me wrong, I'll buy you a coffee. But we have coverage there from Stewart Island, the Chatham Islands, all the way up to Kaitaia there. We've got town, we've got peri-urban, we've got rural. We've got lesser libraries that are only open a couple of times a week, but the eduroam's still available there outside. We've got the large urban libraries which have many people going through on a daily basis. But this is like, okay, are we reaching the people we're trying to reach? Because of the way it works, we can actually see where people are coming from and how many people are visit. So we've got really good hard numbers. That's since the start of the year. You can see on the graph, you can guess what month I turned it on fully live. So we've had 19,000 unique visitors to the library system since we went live at the start of the year. It's a couple of days old, but that doesn't matter. Also, the slump there, reduction in numbers, I'm told that's actually perfectly normal in the libraries. That's the winter decline. No one goes to the libraries. Though as a feedback, they say there's a lot of printing going on at the moment. I think there's a lot of people applying for jobs. Common resources. Use the resources that are available in your community. But we can see who's using it here. At the moment, it is the tertiary institutions because they're the ones who've got connected. But if you look here, Minister of Education. So apparently people who work in Ministry of Education go to libraries. I did not suspect that. There it is. We can also see where people have come from overseas. Not relevant to the market we're trying to reach particularly for this, but relevant for our tertiary partners there. Australia, United States, Germany, United Kingdom, always at the top there. Weirdly, you get more Germans in libraries than you do in the academic settings, but I don't know. But we can see where they've come from. And this is important information for us to send back through our partners to their funding organisations saying, look, this is how many people are using your library. Because the free Wi-Fi service there in the libraries tells them how many people, but it doesn't really give you a feeling of who's using it, because libraries are a very safe place to go to and they don't want to collect that information. Whereas we can say, well, Monash, lots of people from Monash. We can also give you a feeling of where people are going as well. You can see fairly clearly why I picked Invercargill and Dunedin as the areas for doing the test rollout there, with Invercargill right at the top for the number of sites, number of visitors, Dunedin just behind, Hamilton City. As soon as that came online, University of Waikato people straight through. And what's next? Ministry of Education are going to be doing their piece in their interaction with schools. They know the people, we don't. So our focus is to make more places where people can go to. We're working with local councils. Local councils are very important for this because local councils own a lot of public space. And often they own a lot of parts of the GLAM sector. Galleries, libraries, archives, museums. These are places with tight relationships with the research and education community. They're places for people to go, students to work. Teaching hospitals and other health locations. This is more at the tertiary sector, but being able to just have that seamless ability to move from your teaching location straight into a teaching hospital location and back. Transport hubs, again, mostly aimed at the tertiary sector. But if you've ever sat in an airport and gone, I wish there was eduroam here, every single airport in Norway has eduroam, because that's just how it works in Norway. We're all practicing Norwegian so far. Yeah, good. We're working the WISP community as well, because these are people who know the communities that are out from the big cities there. And they also provide a lot of free Wi-Fi. So would you like to bring that one on? Marae is another one here. We are reaching out to engage with the Marae community to go, is this something you would like in your environment as well? And that's probably questions.
One very important question. Where did you get your shirt?
I was told to wear something that would make it easy for people recognise me afterwards. And I didn't wear the one with the bright oranges that I was like, I want to wear that one. But my boss will tell me off for being vulgar and crass. So this one here, anyway, I'll tell them later.
I think you already addressed this, yes? How many sites do we currently have in New Zealand?
The libraries are 167, 60. I can't remember if Mangawhai's come online. But New Zealand total is about 400 at the moment. And a site can be as small as like the Mary Mary Library. I just got a connection the other day from someone from Indiana. So that's just one library, tiny library, open 8 hours a week, one access point. Or it can be for those of you who know Dunedin, effectively the University of Otago campus and the Otago Polytechnic campus are right next to it. So that's two sites. But that's an area about 2 kilometres on a site, or 2 kilometres by 1 kilometre. It's huge, but that's just one site. So 400, but some of them are really big.
And could this be extended to domestic use? People sharing their home Wi-Fi, etc.
That one has been done. North Carolina is doing this, as well as Connecticut. There's actually someone I met at one of the conferences, and they're doing this in North Carolina, where they're providing eduroam in homes on top of the Wi-Fi infrastructure that's there already, and they're doing it for some school areas and not for ones next to it, so they're actually going to be able to do it as a full research paper. There's nothing stopping us doing this. This is just something that's steps further. We're working on the places that already exist rather than building the new, just because we're little steps.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul.